We love you, Joe, but you're making it real hard to defend you right now. But let's see how we can turn this and still keep you in a good light.
Hopefully.
We are going to be covering everything surrounding Mr. Joe Buddens in regards to accusations, the firing and fallout of Rory and Mal.
Why are people always adding an S to his name?
I tried my best to not add the S
but
in
it's
the
so
end,
hurting. Buddens.
But anyway, we on your way, boy.
Choices and options. He feels like he's entitled to more. Rory, you are in breach of your contract.
Bro, who are you talking to?
And from this point forward, you are fired. And you're not welcome back. Does anybody in here have a problem that I'm the person that has to say that? No. Mal, I'm the person that has to say that. The gall of you to think that you are observing the way that I am, to think that I have to come to you about a problem I have with another man. We have things sorely mistaken around here. That's not ego and arrogance. It's realism.
What's not realism is you talking to two empty seats.
Yeah. It's not a good look. It's not a good look, Joe. I mean, maybe these are the poor leadership skills he's referring to. So he ended up apologizing to Rory. He said that he was reminiscing on the times that they had and some, like, I don't know. I guess you're realizing that you came off like a dick.
Ever since that last pod, I've just been having like pictures in my head of every moment that me and the guys have ever had together.
However, then Rory and Mal responded.
I had to chop it down just because when you watch things and, you know, you react, I don't even want to say, because emotionally gets a bad rap for the word it is, but I will say emotionally. You react emotionally to certain things, which is fine. So I was sitting there writing 1,000 different notes on every last thing I disagreed with. That's a lie. That never fucking happened. How could you even think that's your perspective on this and that?
Right.
Rory and Mal, especially Rory, are great storytellers.
Why do you feel like they're storytellers?
I'm just saying they'd be great for a podcast.
Oh, okay,
if
that
they
type of
were to
storytelling. I wasn't sure if it was
continue to
subtle
bounce
shade.
off of one another.
Relationship with Joe, outside my relationship, anything to do with the podcast, I've just known Elliot.
I think everybody knows Elliot.
Elliot's my guy. Elliot's an amazing guy.
Yeah.
And Elliot will just hit you up and say, yo, let's grab a drink or let's have lunch.
Right.
So I said, bet. We go and have lunch. Don't really talk about podcasting specifically, but just maybe the overall genre and what's going on. He has a title and just shooting the shit about music because Elliot and I have similar interests. You know, I'm over at Tidal full time now. I could probably give y'all like an offer on some type of podcasting thing.
Right.
It's early in podcasting. I say, bet. So I called Joe. I said, hey, I just had a really interesting lunch with Elliot. Okay, what happened? I said, oh, Tidal, they're trying to put together this little podcast division. This is what's going on. This is what they think they could offer per month. Real casual, real regular. Never said yes or no to anything. I was just like, yeah, cool. I'll get back with the guys and we'll talk. Joe flips the fuck out on that phone.
So we've been going back and forth about all this lately. I like to stick to what the person is actually saying, and I feel like a lot of people that have issues with Rory and Mal, like the DJ Academics, I feel like when he's looking at these videos, he is taking parts of the video that are not there, or he's literally completely twisting these dudes' words.
Rory says that he had a meeting with Elliot. Rory says that he had a meeting with Elliot to discuss Tidal, and then he called and told me about it, and I screamed on him. He's absolutely right. I screamed on him. He was totally out of place. He should not have done that. I had already been having discussions with Tidal. I named a number. They weren't the fondest of it. And here goes Rory to sit down and talk to Elliot, but he doesn't own it, and he doesn't know how much it's costing to run these things, and he don't know what type of money I'm going to take. So I 100% said to Rory, please do not do that again.
And he didn't do it again. When he brought the Spotify deal, he went through, he sent it to Ian, and just saying, and during his rant, he still didn't get credit.
It's like a game of poker. You never show your hand, and if you want to see my hand, you have to call him a bet, you know? If there is a prior negotiation, you know, no matter if you weren't aware of it, you need to disclose your actions prior to acting on them with your team, especially if you do not own the platform. I understand it was a simple lunch, which turned into possible negotiations because numbers were brought back. So when you bring something like that to the owner of a platform like this, you should understand not everyone's going to be pleased, especially if they have their own negotiations. You don't know what could be going on. They could be sending someone else to get through what mommy said and let me go ask daddy.
He specifically said Elliot is a friend. So when I think about that, I think about the fact that yes, we share this channel. However, he is a photographer. So if you shot by Exantus, check him out. If he goes out and he is filming or whatever, and I happen to be out and I meet up with, let's say, a friend named Sarah, and Sarah has a photography thing that she thinks Chris would be great for. The initial get-together was, hey, we're grabbing lunch or whatever, and she's like, hey, by the way, I've been looking at your page, the YouTube channel. Does Chris do, photography on the side or whatever? I wouldn't throw out exact numbers, and I wouldn't even consider that to be a negotiation. I would say, okay, well, what were you thinking? What does the project entail? I can pass something along.
Could you admit that numbers could have been thrown out in order for a number for that to come back or for you to come back with?
No, I'm saying because if Sarah...
I'm just asking.
No, but just my point is, if this person, this hypothetical person, Sarah, says, yo, I can offer him $1,200 an hour. This is what he would be doing. Do you think he'd be down for it? And I responded, yo, I don't know, but I'll bring it back and I'll get him in contact with you. If I now come to Chris and I say, yo, Sarah offered this, in no way was that initially a negotiation, because intent matters. Intent matters in a court of law. Intent matters anywhere. It was not intended on being a negotiation. I did not settle on a number, nor did I personally bring up numbers. Someone was telling me, let's say, what the going range for photographers and and what the project would entail and the budget. You wouldn't have an issue with that because I didn't accept anything on your part, and I'm just bringing it back. Now I'm literally writing down Sarah's number. Yo, you go handle this.
We understand that hypothetical, but in Rory's case, they wanted to accept that $40,000
That's what
a month.
Joe said. Rory and Mal never say that. I'm just saying. I'm not
Rory,
saying it's not true.
Joe said $40,000 is what they agreed upon. And I believe they are in a different bracket and they are in a different mindset when it comes to the business aspect of things. Joe was thinking bigger and long-term and knew they can get a lot more and did not want to show his hands. And these guys wanted to jump at any offer that came to them first. It's clear.
My point is, I want to stick on what we would consider just broad facts of Joe agrees that Rory did bring up the title situation.
After Joe spoke with the big dog Jay-Z.
Again, that's the difference.
We're just gonna leave it at what Joe says, right?
No, that's what I'm trying to explain, is that I'm here to discuss or
dissect.
I'm here to pull apart what's agreed upon. So if you're telling me that the title situation of numbers being discussed with Elliot is just a broad agreement of that happened, I will discuss that. If you want to say that you assume that, yes, but it's an assumption. It's not fact.
Now, if I am in discussions in the middle of a negotiation trying to bring this platform some profit, and then someone in my camp decides to go talk to someone else that's in that camp about negotiating, that right there can ruin negotiations because it's unprofessional. We as a unit need to sit together. But then again, Joe as the owner could have these private discussions and bring this back to his team to see if this is an offer that they should go with or decline. Let's not leave out the fact that Elliot is also a possible competitor because he too has a platform that's in a similar realm as the JBP Boys. So with that, we don't want to discuss with Elliot about anything in regards to numbers because now they can try to compare. If that's the case, I'd rather talk to your boss, Elliot, and we know Jay-Z won't share certain information with Elliot. He just wants enough information to get these guys to sign on board.
The clip that we're going off of is that Rory considers Elliot a friend. Will we need a video from Elliot to establish whether it was a business communication or whether it was a friendship lunch?
Or a friendship lunch turned into a business discussion.
My point is, with my analogy of the hypothetical Sarah, is that I do not think Chris would be upset if I came back and said, yo, Sarah...
Your hypothetical is different.
No,
because we own a platform together in regards to reviews, but someone outside wants to offer something in regards to my photography.
This is where people miss on the listening. you have your platform for your photography. So what I am negotiating, if you want to go with what your logic is about this, what I'm negotiating then is a platform that I'm not associated with. It's not a job for Chris and Rella. It's a job for Shot by Exantus.
Rory is associated with JBP. It's two different things. I get what you're saying, and your theory makes sense. And if it were that case, like, hey, Joe, someone presented this idea for you, not for JBP, but for you. If he would have came at it like that, Joe wouldn't have been as mad. It wouldn't have made sense for Joe to react that way. But you came back with numbers and information in regards to our platform. It's
numbers and information that were discussed on the what other
and other things that probably went unsaid, why Joe
didn't mention shit
furious
though.
because he's saving those. He can't relate too much information.
Joe comes later.
Did he not mention that?
When Joe fired Rory, he's basically said that Rory and Mal did not contribute anything substantial enough to warrant this entitlement. I think that was what he said.
Which is why he is standing his ground.
My point is that through this, you do find, and Joe concedes to the fact that the title thing, him and Rory disagree on how the title thing went down. We can leave that there. There's really no point. We both obviously.
I wish there was a way we could confirm this. There's got to be text messages, emails,
both have very
missed
different
calls.
takes. However, I do know
Can we get a copy
that
of
a
the
lot
call
of
logs?
people bring different forms of value, and it's sometimes very hard to quantify. And I do believe that Joe has a tendency to assume that he's the only person that brings this platform value. Not only is he a talent, don't get me wrong, he's amazing, but he's very polarizing. So a lot of other people tune in for the other opinions.
I don't believe that. Joe,
Joe is polarizing.
Yeah, he is. I don't believe that he feels like everything is successful due to his likeness. They are assets to the platform.
My issue with people is
he sees himself as the majority whole.
Then that needs to be.
Is that not fair?
Excuse me.
To see yourself as the majority whole.
Yo, get him. Get your boy.
Yo, she is gonna kill me. I need security here.
Yeah, like if she's gonna drop and you're gonna find out like she snapped. I couldn't even do this review for 3 days because it's been like a straight up like debacle, like a whole fucking argument. If I'm upset with him, it does not mean being upset in that moment lets me tear down every other aspect of his character. So my issue with Joe is not to have a disagreement. I mean, these are your friends, these are your coworkers. It's stressful. You guys are extremely successful. I'm sure it's very hard to break up the percentages with how much everybody does contribute. But I don't think Joe keeps the same energy when he's angry. And that's where I have the issue. My biggest thing with this whole thing is leadership skills. You might not need to be, if you want to be an executive, you have to step completely out of this sect. And I don't think you want to. So you need to get someone else to be the head. And like I think he mentioned later on that he's going to try and find a human resources person to come and check the sensitivity in the room. Because he does not need to be the one involved, invested, in charge. It's just not a good look. You know, when you're telling us that they don't contribute, and then 2 days later you want to come back and apologize and say like, oh, you know, I miss my good times, blah, blah, blah. They respond and then you're on live on some shit. It's just like you're not taking accountability, and I just don't think it's fair, personally. I don't like it.
I'm trying, Joe. I'm trying to keep you alive here, so bear with me, all right, y'all?
Well, Rory followed up with Spotify, which was their biggest deal to date before the Cash App situation. Spotify was Rory. So for you not to include that in your rant as if Rory's never done anything, mind you had an issue with how he did the first one, but the second one, apparently it was done right, but you still didn't give him credit. You're talking about Tidal when we know you've had an outstanding issue with Jay-Z for years, and you claimed on a pod that the only reason you guys are good now is because Mal was able to set up some sort of conversation. So I just do want to throw that in because, like I said, it's hard to quantify, but Rory does bring something, and Mal does bring something.
One deal with Spotify, awesome. Joe followed up with Cash App and brought in a couple $100 more with that deal. So follow suit. Now continue that cycle. Don't stop there and be like, oh man, I've done it all. No, keep it on going, man. It's just like marketing and ads. You got to stay on top of that. Foot on next. Foot on next.
This to him. He flipped the fuck out, called me insecure for wanting to have a contract. And said, don't call me about this shit. I said, I'm insecure because I think we're all friends and I want to have a contract since all these deals are coming in. So once the deals are finalized, the three of us don't have to say a fucking word to each other. We good.
Right.
We can continue on with this chemistry of this podcast.
Right.
But I'm insecure. I found that very odd. The same way he psychoanalyzes his friends, I thought that was the weirdest fucking thing on earth.
Right. You understand that
just
now,
simply,
though. You understand what that energy was about now, though.
This was just the first one.
Okay, got you.
This was just the first one. Just said to myself, well, that's kind of weird. That's not insecurity. That's just how shit goes.
And you know how Joe is. He wears his emotions on his sleeve. He's a very emotional, distressed human being. You see that big vein in the middle of his forehead is about to like pop. But it's still your friend Rory, and this is not how you come at the homies. So you could have.
It's not how you come at an employee either.
At an employee, at anyone, but this is still an employee or a percentage partner / a longtime friend. And your approach here, you dropped it with that one. But you are in the right to feel the way you feel because it can look shady in some aspects. This is my theory on it. I blame Jay-Z. And Tidal. And Elliot tried to force Joe's hand by sending Elliot at the pawn, aka Rory, mess with his ego and do some numbers at him, numbers he's never seen before, or force Joe's hand to accept that shitty ass $40,000 deal, which that platform did not deserve. And Joe was right by that. He was.
Yeah. 100 round drum with a scope. Hit a nigga right in the throat. Voodoo baby, no go. Militant nigga, I be on go.